Been a while since I've been in the boxing gym.
Okay. My engineers, okay, here we go. He's playing your video now. I don't hear the sound. Do you hear it? Do you see it?
Yeah. Yep.
I wonder why we don't hear the sound. But I guess he hears it. And the audience will hear it. Eat the cake. You putting it in. You getting it in right now. All right. Stand for something. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rick Young. This is another segment of What's in Your Hand. And my guest today is an author, inspirational speaker, advocate, and she has an MSW, Master's of Social Work. Ladies and gentlemen, Sade Burrell. How you doing today, Sade?
What's going on, Rick? It's so good to see you and be able to chat with you. I'm doing very well out here in California. Just enjoying this heat wave, but man, life is great. Life is great.
Yeah. Looking at the video, don't remember the young lady's name that's in the video. She was the teacher. You know who she is?
A little bit, little bit. I might know
You know
her.
she played in a boxing movie. Ironically, you mentioned boxing. She was in a boxing movie.
I did not know that.
Yeah, she was training in New York. I believe she trained at Gleason's gym.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
wow! I didn't know that.
And that movie was very touching. I don't know if you, the boxing movie that she was in.
Now you know the title.
Can't think of it right now.
Let me know when you do. I love to watch it.
Yeah, yeah. She same one that's in your video.
Yep.
Was in that movie. So MSW.
Yep. Yep. It's crazy to watch that video because that video was actually uh almost 6 years ago almost. I think we did that video in 2014. And now it's like it's crazy watching that video because I'm in a whole nother level in my life now. I was in my 20s when I did that video, and now 6 years later, I mean, when I say, like, people have no clue what I was going through when I did that video. One, that video was done off the top of my head. It was no like, oh, I'm writing this stuff down. All I do is write bullet points. I wrote the bullet points, and out of nowhere, I just start speaking, and so and it just came out my mouth. I was in so much. This is why I always tell people, you gotta push through your pain. People have no clue how much pain I was in when that video was being made. I was going through so many battles in my life. I had two children, ages they were 2 and 3 at that time. They were little babies. I was raising them as by myself. I'm raising them. I wasn't eating during that time. For dinner, I used to drink tap water. I get them noodles. I would attend events in the community, not because I wanted to learn, but because I needed to eat, and I knew that they will have little mini sandwiches. I wasn't there to learn. I was there to eat. I mean, it was rough back then, and I was encouraging people because I was encouraging myself. I wasn't doing videos for fame or for people to recognize me. I was doing it because I'm like, I got to go back and watch this. And I start now it's 6 years past that. I go back and watch those videos, and I'm like, you made it through that, Sade. Like, this, what you going through now? I live a comfortable life. I have to put myself in situations where I'm uncomfortable because now I'm comfortable. See, after that video was made 2 years later, I bought my first home for me and my kids in California. I bought my first home. I bought a home. Ain't nobody help me no down payments. I don't have no mom and dad that help me with none of that stuff. I did that with my kids. I made sure that they got whatever it is that they need. I made sure every car I bought that in cash. I saved up my money, bought cars in cash, and I've never in my life had a car payment.
Okay, let me just say something real quick. My birthday's in July, which means I'm a Cancer. Cancers are sensitive. I think you're trying to bring some tears. I'm about to get the tissue. You trying to get the tears coming up, but go ahead. Let me just tell you this. Let me just say this one thing before you go. On. I've seen, listened to, been in the audience, met some of the greatest motivational speakers in the world, world known. You inspire me. That's why I reached out to you when I first saw your video. You inspire me. Continue. Continue.
Well, and it's crazy. I remember when you reached out to me. When you contacted me, you're like, hey, Sade, how you doing it? And everything like that. It was funny because I thought about our first interview. I was in my low-income apartment. I was living in low-income apartments, right, with my kids. I could barely afford the rent that I had, etc. And I had to wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning because your show was early. So it's 3 o'clock in the morning in California. It was like 6 o'clock over there. I'm standing in the dark in the room, like taking your phone call, listening to you. And I'm like, man, like, times have definitely changed. Like, people thought I was in, it was never about, and that's why I tell people, if you have a good heart, it's times in your life where you have to be selfish. Because if you're not being selfish, what's going to happen is you're constantly going to be stuck in that situation. And I had to be so selfish during that time. And when I say selfish, I didn't talk to nobody for 2 years because I was in my MSW program at the University of Southern California. I didn't talk to nobody. People thought I was acting funny. People talked about me. And I was like, I don't care. At the end of the day, the only people I can't be selfish with are my children. I have to be selfless to them. Everybody else, you're not getting my time. People were asking me to speak places, weren't paying me a dime, not one dime. I'd be lucky if they gave me a $10 gift card to Target. And then you do a video. I do a video. Everybody, I go to school at USC. USC found out about that video I made, and it just went viral at USC. And they're all inviting me places to speak, never offering anything. But I was selfish. I had to be selfish with my time. My goal at that time was for me to graduate. That was the best thing I could have ever done for myself. Because shortly after graduating, Rick, don't get me started. Rick, let me tell you, since graduating, I graduated in May 15, 2015, I graduated. Before I graduated, my old counselor, my academic counselor, called me up and said, Sade, aren't you about to graduate from your MSW program. I said, yeah. She said, why don't you come work for the program that helped you get to where you are? Come work for the foster youth program. I said, well, how, you know, is it a full time? She said, no, it's part time. Pass up this opportunity. Oh, let me tell you about opportunity. She said, don't pass up this opportunity. I said, yeah, but I got full-time bills. Like, I'm tired of being hungry. I'm tired of weighing 90 pounds. Like, I need to eat. Like, my kids are eating. I need to eat. And I'm tired of eating noodles. It's time for them to at least be able to throw some sauce on it. I mean, something. And so Child Welfare Services offered me a full-time job. They said, Sade, we got a whole campaign for you. We're going to have you be a PSW as a protective service worker for 1 year. Then we're going to move you up and we're going to do this and we're going to put you here. And I'm like, that's full time. But one thing my mentor taught me, this is what I encourage every one of your listeners to do. When it's time to make a big decision in your life, you don't just say, I'm going to go with this one because this one full time. See, I wasn't thinking like a broke person. I wasn't thinking like a 90-pound person. I was thinking like the person who I am today. I turned down a full-time gig to work part-time in higher education. People say, why would you do that? I said, because I was thinking like this. I was doing 16 hours a week there. 16 hours a week I was working there. And then the rest of the time, I was able to drop my kids off at school and I started my speaking business. That's when everybody had to start getting charged. No more of me not eating. Everybody was going to get charged. Opportunity. I looked at the opportunity. Then, Rick, let me tell you something about this. In my field of work, by the way, I'm an associate professor now. I'm tenured. I'm a professor now. I'm an associate professor. Tenure means they can't fire me unless I do something stupid. Like this year, 2020, I just got tenure. And so it takes people, maybe my counselor who got me in that position I was in, it took her 8 years to get a full-time gig. It took me 10 months. Everyone in San Diego started hearing what I was doing for foster youth. They started hearing about the grants I was writing. And what happened was they found out about me. I interviewed at a college, a local college here. And when I interviewed for them, they said it's going to take about 3 weeks for us to get back to you. Rick, the next day they called me after my interview and offered me the job. I said, is this like a joke? Like, y'all can't believe. What happened was they found out that other people was getting ready to offer me full-time job. Oh, when your name enters doors that your feet have never walked through. When your name enters doors that your feet have never walked through, opportunities begin to flow. Now I'm a tenured professor, and Rick, I tell you this right now, my speaking business has exploded. Why? Because I've not only written grants for over $1.2 million. Matter of fact, I'm the only counselor and professor in San Diego Community College who's written a grant during the pandemic and got it. I just got a grant from my foster youth. So not only do I take care of them at the college level, I take care of them when I travel. I've been speaking online since the pandemic. Oh, everybody money impacted. Mine ain't. But that's because back when you seen that video I was doing in 2014, I was speaking to the Sade I am today. Now today in 2020, I'm speaking to the Sade 6 years from now. I hold myself different.
Can we take it to the beginning so people know how to start it? Can we talk about the foster home?
Yeah, so I was born. I'm born and raised in San Diego. This is where I'm from. I love San Diego, best place ever. But I think what people tend to believe is that I grew up in San Diego where it's sunshine all the time. It may have been a physical sunshine, but we all know that just because the sun is physically out, it doesn't mean it's shining on us. And so I came through foster care. My mom had many mental health challenges. She had many obstacles that she had to overcome. She was raised in the projects in LA. So in South Central, she was in the projects. And so her mom had 6 kids, 3 boys, 3 girls, and it was tough for her. And so she experienced many traumas in her life. And when her mother died, my mom never had kids until her mother died. When her mother died, she began just having kids. So me and my older sister were only 11 months apart. I got another brother and sister, they're only 10 months apart. So as she started having kids, my aunt started taking us in. And when my aunt started, it was at one point it was seven. My mom had 7 kids with her sister, and then she had 2 kids, right? So at that point it was 9 of us in a home because there was other kids coming. And so eventually we ended up in foster care. And from 12 to 18, I was in foster care. From 12 to 18, I was in there, and I went to juvenile hall. I've been to mental institutions. I've been to group homes. Right. This is during a time when child welfare services was so messed up. If you told them no, they would throw you in a mental hospital and be like, "Oh, you bipolar." I'm not bipolar. I just don't. I just think what you're saying is wrong. And so they would do these things. They put me in juvenile hall. I was locked up, shackled. You talk about people being shackled. I was shackled at 12 years old. I got shackles on me like I'm a slave, shackles around my waist and on my ankles like I'm a slave. I'm walking like this with my hands shackled at 12 years old, 12, 13, and 14. At one point, I spent my birthday and New Year's in juvenile hall. And so I turned 13 years old in juvenile hall. And so going from juvenile
When's your birthday? When's your birthday?
January 26th. Okay. Yep. And so going from being in a foster home to being in group homes to mental facilities to juvenile hall, that stuff starts messing with you mentally. It really starts to mess with you. And so I have 2 children, and recently we were driving on the 805 freeway in San Diego. And I pointed to my kids. I said, "You look up over that hill. You see that hill?" I said, "That's where I used to be. That was juvenile hall." But what they recently done is they took the barbed wire fences down, and they're trying to make it less traumatizing, because that stuff, I still to this day got this habit of pacing back and forth, because we were in a cell, and that's how I used to exercise, walking back and forth. Now, mind you, this is almost 20 years ago. I'm still walking back and forth whenever I get stressed out. It starts to mess with you. And so to go from being a foster youth to being a former foster youth to now being an adult whose children will never experience foster care is life-changing.
That's awesome. How does your children feel about, I know you told them about what you experienced. What's their take on that?
Yeah, so they don't, and you know, it's so interesting. The whole purpose of me working so hard is so that they wouldn't really understand. It's hard for them to understand foster care. They're like, "Well, where was your mom? Where was your dad? Well, why did you have to go there? How come you?" They ask questions that are legitimate questions. And so it is very hard for them to understand, because I've never in my life talked bad about family members. So to them, they're like, "Well, I don't understand. Like, why did you go here? Why did you do this?" And I explained to the injustices that happen in the system too, because there were many injustices that happened that caused my case to be as unique as it is from when I was a kid, right? And so it's complex for them, and because again they'll never experience foster care as long, not only am I on earth, you know, but they have another parent who's on earth as well, and that family will make sure that they're taken care of. So because they have 2 families, they're like, "Well, why didn't you go to your dad?" "Well, my dad's in prison." "Well, what's prison?" So now we're having, and I love it because now my son, he'll be 9 years old on Friday, and probably just turned 10 last month. We're having these intimate conversations about injustices. What jail, you know, legal versus illegal. What are some ways that we can make sure what is a foster youth? Because they didn't know. They just kept seeing me wear, shout out to Kevin E. Gilmore, #foster care. They just kept seeing me wear a t-shirt that said #foster care. You know, and they kept saying, "Mommy, how do you know Kevin E?" It's Kevin. They believe they think Kevin E is like super famous. They're like Kevin E's biggest fan. And so he said, "Mommy, what is foster care? Why do you keep wearing that shirt?" And I explained to them what foster care is. And so they're at an age where we're able to have those conversations. So yeah, we have them every once in a while.
Now, in your family, were you the oldest?
I am the second oldest, but it's this God, I can't believe, I forgot. I think it's Bowman's theory, where although you know children, you might be the youngest child, but because everyone else is older, you're technically you're not the only child. You're you're raised as kind of like the only child. And so for me, I was actually raised kind of like the oldest child. I was responsible for all of my siblings, so I was the protector. Something went wrong, I protected them. Somebody in the neighborhood was messing with my family, With my brothers and sisters, I went out there and made sure that they were okay. Even to this day, I'm still the protector. If my sister calls me and says, "Hey, this person is messing with me," now I don't go out there and fight, because now I can go to real jail. So what I do is I call up my people on my phone and I say, "Hey, I need you to make sure that this situation is taken care of." And when I say my people, I'm talking about my lawyers, right, that I have because I've made such great connection with people. I'm talking about community resources because I made such great connections with people, right? I've even gotten people into some of my family members to be able to be connected to social services that allow them to be able to get services such as EBT and things like that, because they needed it for at that time. Why? Because I've associated myself with certain people who now they don't have to wait 6 months for approval. It's right then and there. Get it for this short amount of time, however long you need it. So I call people now.
How did you get in? How did you first hear about this thing called personal development?
So I started heavily getting involved in personal development in 2013, because that's when my divorce started. And unfortunately, it takes a hard time for us to go. It takes for us to go through a hard time in order for us to actually start working on personal development, right? And so my situation with my divorce and everything, it was so easy. When I say it's easy for me to blame the other person, and I had valid reasons, valid legit reasons. But instead of doing that, I said, all right, let me take a look at some of the things that I can work on. So, because when eventually, if I remarry or I get with someone, I want to make sure that they're not paying for someone else's mistakes or anything like that. And so I began to get into personal development by listening to Eric Thomas, Les Brown, Lisa Nichols, all these amazing people that I started listening to just by going on YouTube. And so I tell people all the time, go on YouTube. All you got to do is type in the word motivational. All types of videos start popping up, and you begin to question yourself. Especially Eric Thomas and Lisa Nichols. See, what I love about Eric Thomas, his style is like me. I I always try to fold it up nice and put it in a fluffy little box for you. But at the end of the day, if you're not doing what you need to do, I'm just gonna tell you you're not doing what you need to do. But then I like Lisa Nichols because then she does a storytelling. So I'll put it all in a story, and I'll make sure that when it's in a story that you're able to relate to even that story. And so I started learning that personal development is ongoing. It never stops. It's not like you're like, all right, now I'm at this age. I don't have to do personal development anymore. No, it's always going. I still do personal development. Still to this day. So I believe everyone has everyone has access to a cell phone in America. Everyone got an Obama phone. I seen a man on the corner the other day. He was talking on the phone. He was asking for money. I said, hey man, I ain't even mad at you, man. I ain't even mad at you.
But wait a minute. But how did you know to go to YouTube to say, wait a minute, I could get some information, motivation that's going to help me improve myself? Like, how did you even know that?
Yeah, so let me see. I think that when you become desperate enough, you start looking. When you really ready, you start looking. There's no like, oh man, I don't know where to start, right? If you're like, I don't know where to start, and then you walk away and you never come back, that means you weren't even ready to receive it, which is probably a good thing you didn't find it. I was in a desperate state and I needed to find something. I had to find something. Because if I didn't, I understood that my mental health was going to be at risk, right? And you have to, and during that time back in 2013, there was no Instagram. I didn't have Instagram. Matter of fact, I didn't even have Facebook. I didn't have Facebook. Instagram wasn't what it was today. I didn't have Facebook at that time. I had no social media at all. You couldn't find me online worth nothing. And so I slowly, and when we did the video, what are you reaching for? Brian Byram's, who actually did the videos, like, yo, you got to get some type of social media. I got a Facebook, and then we start putting the videos on Facebook and then YouTube and all these different things. But until you become so desperate that you start looking, you have to be searching. If you're not searching, you ain't ready. You enjoy the life you live.
Wow, you got an amazing story. An amazing story. Do you know anything about basketball?
I do. I used to play a little bit.
You used to play. So there's five players on the court, right? So I would like for you to give me your starting five, your motivational success team, starting five.
Yep. So for me, it's one is my guy Brian Byram's. People don't understand what Brian has did for me. He was the one that all those videos y'all see. Brian did that. Brian was the first person to really ever believe in me. And Brian does amazing work. He puts together all these motivational videos. He's not doing the speaking. He does the visualization, which is just as powerful, because if he would have chose the wrong clip to put in a video, people wouldn't have liked it. So it's Brian, my guy Brian. Of course, it's Eric Thomas on there. Love Eric Thomas. Eric Thomas is like the go-to person when you are in the dump and you like, I want to give up, right? Right? Like, because you put Eric Thomas on, he like, get your butt up. You talking about you in it? I ain't out of trash cans. You like, oh, never mind. I ain't went that bad yet. Right? So, and I love Les Brown. Les Brown is the person who, not only will he give you principles, but he gives you ways to apply those principles. And I love that about him. And I love how he mixed the funny into the reality. He's great with that, right? Lisa Nichols, I love Lisa Nichols. Absolutely love her. She is the best when it comes to being able to tell those stories that people can relate to. I mean, to a point where it's like, she taught me how to use my voice, how to have that pregnant pause, how to, if I want to make a dramatic speech, then it's me raising my voice. But if I really want you to pay attention, I lower my voice, because it's going to stop. You have to stop. You have to listen, and you have to say, I want to know what she's getting ready to say. So I love Lisa for that. And then last but definitely not least, it's myself. I am on that starting five. Matter of fact, I'm the team captain, so it's definitely me. Because I know the value. Not only the value, you see all those four people who I've talked about. I have all those things wrapped up into one, and that sounds and never mix that, misunderstand that with not being humble. I'm a very humble person, but I also believe that if there ain't nobody gonna believe in you the way you believe in you. And so imagine you creating a starting five and you ain't even put yourself on there. Oh, no, I'm on that team. I'm on that team with everybody else.
You know what? I had named my starting five, and I didn't put myself on there. But now, see, you inspired me, because now I got to put me on that starting five on that team. Wow, I don't understand why I didn't put myself on that team. That's see how. But you learn. I just learned from you. You just taught me. And I've noticed that all of your people are alive. I got some that have passed on, but they're still teaching.
Yep.
So I'll give you my five. Huh?
Who's your starting five?
Napoleon Hill. Jim Rohn. Are you familiar with Jim Rohn?
Yep.
Les Brown, because he was like the first one I saw doing this kind of speaking, this motivational success speaking, and kind of open the door. So I got to put Les in there. And then I'm going to put Lisa Nichols in there, because there's a program that I went to in Las Vegas, and I went 3 times. I found out that Lisa Nichols went there 42 times.
Oh, you went to the one she told that story about. Oh.
Yeah, and because of that, she got in Chicken Soup for the African American Soul, Chicken Soup for the African American Woman's Soul, The Secret.
Yep.
The Secret.
Yep.
You see, she went 42 times. She was like, I went 3 times. So I put Lisa Nichols in there, and then of course, then it got to be me. Then it got to be me.
Rick,
but I got that from you. I learned from you.
Yeah. Rick, do you not know how inspiring you are? Man, your show is like legendary.
I know. Thank you. So thank you. I might have to put you in there too.
Give me some time. Let me earn my spot.
So I don't know if you remember this, but one time you came on the show one time, because you came on like about 2 or 3 times.
Yep. Yep.
And one time we had Mike Williams on the show with you. I don't know if you remember that. And Mike Williams
Yeah.
was the mentor for
Oh,
Les Brown. I hadn't been in
yeah.
touch with him. Haven't been in touch with him. But have you been in touch with him?
All right, man, Rick, I'm telling you, that's why I tell people you gotta manifest things in your mind, because I was just thinking, it's so crazy that we reconnected, because I was just thinking about Mike Williams the other day, and then he put me in contact with George Frazier.
Yeah.
And back in 2014, and I was sitting here coming up with a speech with how when you're not, when you know every opportunities come when you're ready. I had an opportunity to talk to George Frazier, and I was on the phone like this. Is this really George? He's all like, yeah. What questions you got? I don't know what to ask. I was like, how do you like? I didn't know what to ask.
Wow.
If you put me on the phone with him now, oh, it's crazy. And so I was literally thinking about him and Mike Williams the other day. Literally, I was so not prepared. Not like, oh, I didn't do my homework. I did my homework, but I didn't have enough experience at that point to even talk to someone like that.
So being that you mentioned George Frazier, I would say he's the king of networking, especially in the African American community. He's wrote a book called Success Runs in Our Race, to complete an effective networking guide for African Americans. So how would you rate your networking skills from 1 being low, 10 being high? Where would you put Sade on that chart?
I think my networking skills is
wait, excuse me. Let me take, hold on. Dr. Sade.
Doctor.
Dr. Sade.
Dr. Sade. I love it. Speaking into existence.
Yeah.
You better be careful, because the last time someone started calling me Professor Burrell, and I actually became a professor. So give me some time. I'm about to be Dr. Sade Burrell. So
yeah. No, I'm calling it into existence.
Hey,
remember what? I'm calling it into existence.
I receive it. I would rate myself on networking. I would rate myself a 7, and that's because we all got room to grow. When I say 7, I mean because we get so caught up in networking. And when I say networking, I'm talking about building relationships, right? What I tend to do sometimes is I do all the steps up front, get their card, contact them immediately, stay in contact with them. But somewhere along the line, the contact falls off because we're both busy people. And so how do we keep that going, that networking going, aside from when you need something, you call me, or when I need something, you call me? And a lot of people, they don't take offense to that because they're busy just like I am. But I want to build something that's even greater, to where if my children need anything, it's a phone call. It's not like, oh, you got to apply here, do this. It's just a simple phone call. And so I would rate myself right now a 7. But when I talked to George Frazier, it was a 0. Oh, hands down. Even though because people think, because I am well connected, very well connected. I sit on several county boards with a few politicians here in San Diego, etc. So if people found out I rated myself a 7, they're like, what? No way. But it's because I know the level that I want to be at, right? And so most people, they have expectations that are normal, and mine exceed normal all the time. And so I'm working towards getting up there to about 9 or 10.
You want to hear a funny story? I'm going to tell you the funny story. I interviewed a young lady the end of last year, and I got to reach out. I got to get her back again, because she wrote a book. And remember, it was the end of last year, right? Like around November, right? The title of her book was A Year of No Nonsense. Look where we at. Huh?
I said, whoa! I love that title.
Of no nonsense.
I love
that.
I
got come back here. Come back, miss. We got to do some more talking, because this was like last year, 2019, like November. I think it was in November, December, November sometime, and then this happened.
Yeah. Yep. Corona.
I got to get her back, man. A year, because this is a year of no nonsense.
Not at all.
I mean, I think every year is like that, but this is extreme. This is at a whole nother level.
And you know, Rick, this year, it forced a lot of people to sit down some places. You got people who need to sit down, and you got people who need to step up. And we always said to people, when I hope I never am around to experience another pandemic again like this, because this is crazy. Because it's been like almost 6 months. But I say, let me tell you what I was listing out the things that came good. The year of no nonsense. I love it because this literally was that year for me. Rick, for the past, my daughter's 10, my son is 9. Past 9 to 10 years, I've been trying to lose this weight that I gained from them, right? Been trying to lose that for a minute, right? And when I did lose it, it was unhealthy. So it was not like, it wasn't like I was like, oh man, Rick, it was unhealthy ways of me not eating, not because I didn't want to, because I didn't have no food. And I wanted to start reading again, right? I wanted to start reconnecting with people. This pandemic had me sit down. I had to sit down and I had to realize, okay, so I started reading. I discovered Dr. Claude Anderson recently. I'm embarrassed to say that. I recently discovered Dr. Claude Anderson, started following his principles and applying what he taught. That's embarrassing. Why? Because I was out there doing everything else. I properly lost weight. Now I have nothing but muscle, like almost to a point where you couldn't even tell I had kids, right? And so the year, some people took advantage of this particular situation differently than other people. I'm not saying anyone right or anyone wrong, but anyone is wrong. But what I am saying is that you're going to see a whole nother group. You're going to have to see two groups of people come out of this. You're going to have those people. There are people who still make money during this. There are people who lost a lot during this. Let me share this story with you. When I talk about the year of no nonsense, so I work at a college, and one of my students, I'm always talking money, always trying to teach these students. I'm like, who keeps telling college students to get cars with car payments? Broke college students have car payments. Unbelievable. And so I said, I'm always reading books and I give them the game. So I gave them the game, and one of my students walked up to me and said, Sade, I need your help. Like, I'm in like a lot of consumer debt. You said don't have consumer debt. I need help. So I said, look here, my time is limited. I don't have time. Y'all like to play around. Y'all like to continue eating out, doing all that other stuff. I said, if you work with me, you have to be serious. If you waste my time one time, I'm done. I don't have time for I have 2 kids who needs my time. And I thought that was gonna scare her off. So she said, okay, I'm serious. I said, well, if you're serious, do this. I want you to go home. I want you to write down how much money you make. And I want you to write down your debt and then bring it back to me tomorrow. She came, she said, hey, Sade, here's all my debt. I looked at it. I said, wow. I said, why do you have Netflix? She said, oh, I like to watch TV. I said, how dare you watch TV and you owe people money? She had Netflix. I said, what are you doing with Netflix? Oh, it's not mine. It's my boyfriend's. I said, I don't care if he has Netflix. Why don't you tell him to cut that off and y'all start saving that $11? How dare you decide to eat out and you owe these people money? Wow. And she like, and that's the sense of responsibility you have to have. And so what ends up happening with her was I thought she was gonna run away crying. She didn't. I said, the next task is I want you to write out how much money income you have. And I want you to bring both papers to me. She brings it back. I said, now I'll work with you. Because I wanted you to do those 2 tasks and I wanted to see if you were going to keep your word. You kept your word, but I'm telling you, if you waste my time, I'm not helping you at all. So one day I walk in the office and all the students are sitting around and they're eating Subway sandwiches. I see her eating a Subway sandwich. I said, how dare you eat a Subway sandwich? Don't you owe somebody money? She said, yeah, but I didn't pay for it, Sade. It was free. I said, you should have been outside selling that Subway sandwich. You owe someone money. Wow. And she was like, Sade, but I can't. I said, hey, wrap that up. You done eating. You should be eating nothing but beans and rice. You owe people money. You shouldn't be able to sleep. You owe people money. And so she ended up transferring to Long Beach State. And she said, I'm going to keep in contact with you, Sade. I was helping her pay stuff down and everything. I mean, she had like over 10,000. She's paying her debt down and everything. And she emailed me recently. This is about 3 weeks ago. She emailed me and she said, Sade, I didn't want to contact you until I was able to tell you I was completely done. When the pandemic hit, I got unemployment and I knew I was getting that additional $600. I became happy because I knew that I was going to be able to start paying down debt with that money. She said, but I didn't want to contact you until I got everything paid for. I want you to know I'm out of debt. I don't owe anyone money. There's not a person on earth I owe money to. at
Wow.
all. Said, that's all thanks to you. I said, no, you did the hard work. I just helped push you. And she said, Sade, every time I thought about spending money on anything that did not go toward the debt, she said, I thought about wasting your time and how you missed an hour with your children because you were helping me when you were supposed to be off work.
Wow.
So she took a sense of responsibility. Like, this woman could be with her children right now, but instead she's helping me. I owe it to her. And a lot of us don't have that type of like grit in us to say, I owe this person. This person invest. That's why I graduated from college, not because I'm smart. People invested money in me, scholarships. The federal government gave me grants and Pels and things like that. I felt like the least I could do is graduate. And so when you talk about the year of no nonsense, this is the year. Some people said, I'm not, we spent 6 months of this year in quarantine. So this was a year of no nonsense. And if you didn't make it through this year, I don't know what to tell you.
How did you, okay, so one of the things that people have trouble with is study habits. How do you develop great study habits?
What I always tell people when I work with my students, right, I'm gonna take it to educational, but you can apply this to any area of your life. The first thing I say is, because you lack studying habits, you shouldn't be doing it alone. So if I lack anything, right, like for me, when I wanted to lose weight, I would go to the gym. You know, I do 5 pull-ups. And I'm like, woo, I'm done. All right, time for me to go. But when I was with a group and we were all working out, we were pushing each other, pushing. And so it's always one person in a group whose level of expectation is higher than everyone else's. And so we're like, that's what I want to go for. So when it's time to start developing studying habits, don't do it alone. Go sit down with a group of people and say, hey, how can we let's come. We're gonna study Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from this time. I say I want the days, the time, and the location. And don't make the location somewhere where you actually have to drive to. Make it a place where you're already at. So if it's school, make it the library. Because if you make it Starbucks, somebody gonna say that they can't make it. Same thing with your life. When you need to start studying other grades, I want you to start studying it in groups with other people so you all can hold yourself accountable. See, the reason why we don't have great habits or studying habits or whatever it is, because we also don't have accountability partners, true accountability partners. I told my cousin the other day, my cousin said, hey, Sade, I want to lose some weight. Can you help me out? She said, but I'm a little afraid of you because I see your workouts. I said, I'm the person you want to hang out with. I said, don't hang out with your friend. I said, your friend is the reason why you there, because when it's time for you to take off, y'all work out for an hour and be like, girl, we earned this hamburger. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You have to get that accountability. So not only are when it's time to develop habits, get that accountability group or partner around you. And then I want y'all to start be intentional. When I say be intentional, what is the purpose of us studying? How long are we going to study for? How often do we meet, etc.? You have to develop. And one person, whether it's you or someone else, that one person has to be the person that if they don't show up and do what they say they need to do, who's going to be the person to have that conversation with them and say, hey, you didn't do what you said you were going to do. What do you believe your consequences should be? And a lot of us don't follow through, or we can't have those studying habits because there's no consequences. That's why in school they give you an F at the top, because you ain't do what you need. Here's an F right here. Here's this right here's the grade, whatever it is, because there's a consequence associated with behaviors. And so, and it's also positive things that could be associated with that behavior. If you study and you develop those habits, other things can come from it. And so I always encourage people, develop study habits, get with a group first. Don't do it by yourself.
So how does this fit into that? I heard Mark Cuban on TV one time, or online, he was talking to someone, he's being interviewed, he says, people need to learn how to learn. How does that fit into great study habits? And I do. When I heard that, I was like, I lit up because I thought that was really powerful. Learn. A lot of people don't know how to learn. Yeah. So how does that fit into? Is it apart, together? How does that work?
No, it is a part. Right. Earlier you asked a question about, personal development. Personal development is teaching you how to learn how to learn. You're learning about who you are as a person, because once you understand not only who you are as a person, your habits, and etc., then you're able to say, this is my learning style. So you need to learn, how do you learn, right? So I use my two kids. My daughter is like me. I call myself a thorough learner. My daughter's a thorough learner, meaning that when we look at something, we have to read it 10 times. And then we like, oh, we be sleeping, but oh, that's what that article was talking about. Versus my son, he looks at it one time and he can recite the whole entire thing. He understands the way that he learns. He learned, this is the type of learner I am. My daughter, we're thorough learners. So you need to learn about yourself so that you can learn what works for you, what does not work for you, etc. Same thing how you got like the different type of ways to study. Learners that you have people who have to have color, and it has to be written out, drawing stuff like. Then you got the people who got to be standing up, like I'm standing up right now. I have to stand up. I can't sit down. Right. Then you got the people who need to like I said, visually see it, etc. If you can identify what type of learner you are, but if you never take that time, you can never learn. And then what do? We begin to blame the system. We begin the education system. Oh, this education system is crazy. No one ever taught me how to read. Well, we gave you the material. Well, I needed someone to teach it. Well, okay. So you need a different learning style. So we do need to learn how to learn.
You ever heard of David Goggins?
No.
I got to put you up on him. He said he would write, if he didn't learn, if he couldn't understand something, he said he wasn't that smart. He said he would write the whole thing down. Like he would write the whole book. Like as many times it took him to learn, this guy's on another level. But I'll get that to you. I only got 2 more questions because we running out of time. I had a lady yesterday. She was awesome. The time blew by. Your time is like 10 times faster. Like boom. It was like a breeze. So first question, one of the things that I truly love is that when you told me you was training your children with personal development when they was like 2 and 3 years old, I said, oh my God. Oh my God. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. I'm ready to go to church. I'm not even religious, but I'm ready to go to church.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. Yeah. Praise.
Hey Rick, I'm a woman of my word. Give me 1 second. Watch. I'm gonna show you that when I told you I was teaching them at 2 and 3, I'm gonna show you that it's true. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Yeah. Wow, man. Ladies and gentlemen, now, Dr. Sade Burrell. Go ahead.
Let me show you how. Remember, I told you I was teaching them personal development when they were babies. I wasn't lying. My kids are authors. They wrote a book.
Oh, wow.
My kids are authors. They're 8 and 9. They're authors.
Wow.
I'm not joking. I've written a second book since we last talked. It's called The Opportunity Guide. So I'm an author of 2 books. My kids are authors. It's called We Are Grateful. Both my kids wrote this book.
Man, wow.
I've been teaching them. When we had nothing, I was teaching them. When we had nothing, I was teaching my kids. Like I wasn't joking. I wasn't playing. Like I really was teaching my kids personal development. And it was so important for me, just as a person, to teach my kids that personal development is always ongoing. And so when they wrote this book, we getting ready to have a book release. Corona messed that all up, but so we're gonna have an online book release and everything. And as a mother, only thing I had to do was invest. I had to get it edited. Of course, I had to pay, certain things. And I told them, you got to pay me back. Don't think because I'm your mother that you get a free pass. They know exactly how much. I gave them receipts. I gave them the receipts. This is how much I paid the editor. This is how much I paid the illustrator. So y'all need to pay me back. They know how much money they owe me. And I don't want the money back because I need the money back. I want it because the same lesson I taught that student, the same lesson I teach my kids. You don't ever want no one saying that you owe them a dime, not even your own mother. Right. So my kids are authors. They got a book being released pretty soon. I'm an author of 2 books. What are you reaching for? And The Opportunity Guide.
All right, awesome. Let me get your website, contact information, how people can reach you.
Yeah, so my website is www.sadeburrell.com, and my Instagram is @SadeBurrell, and Instagram is the way that you can get in contact with me, and then Twitter @Sade1. The best way to get in contact with me, and then sign up for my mailing list so that I can make sure to get you. And Rick, hey, I'm gonna get you a copy of this book. Don't worry about it now. I'll make sure they sign
it. So, final question. So I don't know. We don't want to get into your politics, but it's hypothetical. There's a Democratic convention tonight in Milwaukee, and let's just say hypothetically, you got asked to speak at this convention, but now the whole world is going to hear your message. This young lady, Dr. Sade Burrell, Professor Sade Burrell, is going to speak. What's going to be your message? And it's going out worldwide. Russia, Germany, China, all over America. They're going to hear your message. And what is that message going to be?
Yeah, my message goes back to my original video that I did. And it's what are you reaching for? And we have to first always identify the purpose of what we're doing and what and who is going to impact. So I will always encourage everyone and ask the question, what are you truly reaching for? Are you reaching for cake or are you reaching for crumbs? And when I say cake is whatever is important to you. In that video, I say that when a cake drops on the ground, people don't go and pick up the crumb one by one. They pick up the big cake and they put it somewhere else. People pay thousands of dollars for a cake, thousands of dollars for a cake. And your cake is the most precious thing ever. We sweep up crumbs and we do what with them? Throw them in the trash. Nobody's ever sitting there thinking, I wonder whatever happened to those crumbs. And so the crumbs are people. The crumbs are things. The crumbs are situation. Rick, in 2013, that was a crumb situation I was going through. Had I stayed on those crumbs, I wouldn't be here right now. You wouldn't have even known who I was. You wouldn't interview me. Nobody cares about what I've been through. They care about how I made it through. And so that's my message to not only just the Democrats, Republican, the world. It's just about humanity. My message is, what are you reaching for? And those who you are following, if you're following them, what are they reaching for? Because they might be reaching for crumbs and you trying to reach for a cake, but you following people who are crumb mind people. In my book, I'll talk about people who have a crumb mindset, those who focus on the micro as opposed to the macro. So that would be my message to the people.
Wow. Sade, thank you. Awesome. We got to get back together again. We got to do this again, and you were awesome. And let's keep in touch.
Most definitely. I appreciate you, Rick. I love your show, and I hope all your listeners that they always listen to you because you are the truth. And you're
What's in your hand? What's in your hand? Talk to you soon.
What's in your hand?
That's right. All right.
Appreciate
Peace.
You.